So again, that is not the answer.
It's suicide. Chapter 2, Exodus, names, okay? We're going to be introduced to a new name here, okay? There went a man of the house of Levi and took a wife, a daughter of Levi, and the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. When he could no longer hide him, she took him she took for him an ark of bulrushes and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags of the river brinks. And his sister stood afar off to find out what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrew children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call unto thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe. In English is Moses, but his Hebrew name was Moshe. And she said, Because I drew him out of the water. You want to talk on that for a minute?
Oh, about him drawn up out the
Yeah,
water.
about Moshe and how he was raised by Pharaoh's
Oh, you know,
daughter.
it's isn't it shocking or striking? Doesn't it raise concerns that Pharaoh called for the annihilation, the extermination of the Hebrew males?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Moses' mother raised him for a short time before he sent her. Before she sent Moshe to be raised by Pharaoh's daughter.
Yes.
Now, here's Pharaoh, a man that calls for the extermination of the Hebrews' children. He hated them.
Yes.
He hated them. He was afraid of them. But somehow, Pharaoh's daughter got Pharaoh into the palace. Got Moses into the palace. Now, how in the world could she pull that off? This Egyptian sneaks a young Hebrew into her father's palace. Her father looks at him, plays with him, I'm sure, associated with him, without ever knowing or realizing at one time that this is not an Egyptian.
Right. So
how did he pass for Pharaoh's grandson unless he looked like an Egyptian?
there's no other explanation for that. He actually looked like a. This is again, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They're brothers.
Right.
They come from the same mother and father.
Right. And
so they all had to look alike.
They all had to look alike. And one of the misconceptions out here through lies that have been perpetuated over the centuries is that Ham is black, Shem is not black nor white. He's in the middle somewhere, and Japheth is pure white. But no. In the scriptures, the sons of Shem are black.
Yes.
And we'll just continue to read, and we'll just show from there. We just show from the scriptures, okay?
Yes.
And so, eventually, Moses stayed. He stayed until he was about almost 40
years old.
40 years old in Pharaoh's palace.
Yeah.
Now, one day, Moshe went out to see his people,
and
he saw an Egyptian striking in Hebrew. Scripture said Moses looked this way, he looked that way, and he went and he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. But the next day, he went out, seen two Hebrews.
Verse 13.
And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, Why are you striking your neighbor? And he said, Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Intended thou to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? And Moshe feared and said, surely this thing is known.
Surely is known, and
Now,
so he broke camp.
and he broke out. But here's the thing.
What?
Has anything changed today?
No.
You go among your brothers and say, you know, why did brothers?
Fighting each other.
Who you think you is?
Call you all
I'll
kind
speak in words of our, who you think you is, nigga?
Yeah.
You think you somebody?
Yep.
You ain't nobody, nigga,
Yep.
to be trying to... And don't let them have a few more bucks in you. Nigga, you ain't got no money. Who are you? Well, look at him. He can't... You've been oppressed.
Been oppressed.
You've been oppressed. Hey, what you doing your brother wrong, man? You know, you're just... You know, what's going on?
You know, and think about this for a minute. What happens to the fathers happen to their sons, okay? Knows that Moshe is raised to be a deliverer. It said, and it came to pass, okay? This is verse 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moshe was grown that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, okay? So now he's the deliverer.
Right.
He sees his brothers in bondage.
Right.
He knows who he is.
Right.
Okay. Hebrews 11 chapter talks about Moshe, who it said that he was willing to suffer with his people than to enjoy the pleasure of sin for a season. Moshe's mother taught him who he was.
Right.
From the time she nursed him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She nursed him till he was a certain age. So she told him who he was. He knew who he was, okay? So at the age of 40, Yah put in his mind to go visit his brethren, okay? The scripture says, and when the fullness of time came, Yahweh sent forth his son in the likeness of sinful flesh and for sin to condemn sin flesh. So it's a certain time when Yahweh became flesh, Yahshua, he dwelt among his people,
Right.
okay, to look on his brethren. He came to be the deliverer of his brethren, and what did his brethren do?
Did not receive him.
They reject him, right?
Right.
Even today, when we tell our Hebrew brethren, we tell our brethren who you really are, you know what? Yahshua is rejected. The Messiah is rejected.
I don't know
The
no
Moshiach, that's the Hebrew word, Moshiach, he's rejected.
I don't know no Yahshua. I call him Jesus. I know Hebrew. I'm a son of Ham. I'm a Gentile.
Exactly. That's what they say. All these things, right? Which we were taught to say. But we find here again, so Moshe again tried to deliver his brethren, but he failed. Okay, Yahshua succeeded. He failed at this point.
Not time yet.
Not time yet, because he's using a method other than what Yahweh
Is intended. Right.
So again, we talked about when you try to deliver yourself by using force,
anything other than Yah,
you're going to fail. And we find that Moshe failed.
Okay.
And so he ran away, didn't he?
And so Moshe said, this thing is known.
It's known.
Okay. And Pharaoh heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
News broke somehow that Moshe is this Hebrew.
Yes.
Okay. Because why in the world would he want to kill Moshe? Okay, Moshe, what? The king's son, possibly next to the throne.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, Pharaoh wants to kill him for smiting some taskmaster.
Some Hebrew.
Some
dust of the ground.
Some
scum of the earth.
What? So, anyways, we'll move on. Moshe fled to the land of Midian.
What verse is that?
And that is chapter
2, Exodus.
Exodus 2:15.
Yep.
It said, now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. And so it says, now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. And they came and drew water and filled the trough to water their father's flock.
Mm-hmm.
And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moshe stood up and helped them and watered their flock.
Mm-hmm.
And when they came to Ruel their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon
This is interesting.
today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hands of the shepherds.
I thought that Moshe was a Hebrew.
I thought he was child to Heston. I mean, I thought he looked like Charles Neston.
No, this scripture said an Egyptian.
Egyptian.
Even though Moshe was a Hebrew.